familiar with a typical village in India, if not in reality, but definitely through movies or television channels. Let us look at the ideal village economy of our country. Most of the villages comprise of many families, nearing 400 to 500, living together and belonging to several castes. Families who belong to higher caste usually have pakka houses made of cement and brick. The scheduled caste population lives in much smaller houses, some of which are of mud and straw in one end of the village. The villages are connected to other villages and towns with metal or non-metal roads. What type of transportation and communication facilities we usually see in a village? Many kinds of transport are visible on this road, starting from bullock carts, tongas, bogies to motor vehicles like motorcycles, jeeps, tractors and trucks. The village is also close to a mobile tower and people use mobile phones for communication. What do you think is the major economic activity in a village? In villages across India, farming is the main production activity. The other production activities referred to as non-farm activities include small manufacturing, transport, shopkeeping, etc. In an ideal village, the aim of production is to produce the goods and services that we want. These production activities require various resources. What do you think is the first requirement for production of goods and services? The first requirement is land and other natural resources such as water, forests and minerals. The second requirement is labor to do the work. Labor includes both educated as well as manual laborers. The third requirement is physical capital or the variety of inputs required at each stage during production. Can you think of some of the inputs required at various stages of production? Various tools, machines and buildings are required for production, from farmers' plow to sophisticated machines such as generators, turbines, computers are included in inputs. These inputs can be used in production over many years and are called fixed capital. Another important input we need is raw materials and money in hand. Raw materials and money in hand are called working capital. Unlike tools, machines and buildings, these are used up in production and cannot be used for a long time. Land, labor and physical capital should be put together to produce an output either to be used by self or to sell in the market. What do you think is required to put them together? Knowledge and enterprise, also called as human capital, is the most important requirement for production of goods and services. Every production is organized by combining land, labor, physical capital and human capital, which are known as factors of production. Nearly 75% of the population is dependent on farming in rural areas, either as farmers or as farm laborers. A basic constraint in raising farm production in our country is fixed land area. There is no further scope to increase farm production by bringing new land under cultivation. Have a look at the graph to view the cultivated area of our country over the years. Is there any way one can grow more from the same land? Yes, growing various crops in different seasons of the year may help farmers to increase their production. For example, in western part of Uttar Pradesh in our country, farmers grow jowar and bajra during rainy, that is, kharif season, that can be used as fodder. It is followed by cultivation of potato between October and December. In the winter season, that is Rabi, fields are sown with wheat. A part of the land area is also devoted to sugarcane, which is harvested once every year. To grow more than one crop on a piece of land during the year is known as multiple cropping. It is the most common way of increasing production on a given piece of land. Do you think people can grow crops all year round in every part of the country? No. It is possible only in the areas having a well-developed system of irrigation and electricity. Electricity can transform the system of irrigation. The electric-run tube wells could irrigate much larger areas of land more effectively. Can you name some other sources of irrigation? Dams, canals, tanks, rainwater, etc. are some other sources of irrigation in our country. All villages in India do not have such high levels of irrigation. The northern plains and coastal regions in our country are well irrigated. You will be surprised to know that even today, just about 40% of the total cultivated area in India is irrigated. Thus, it is important to increase the area under irrigation. Another way to increase production is to use modern farming methods for higher yield. Yield is measured as crop produced on a given piece of land during a single season. Till the mid-60s, the seeds used in cultivation were traditional ones with relatively low yields, but there was a change in agriculture in late 1960s. The Green Revolution in the late 1960s introduced the Indian farmer for cultivation of wheat and rice using high-yielding varieties, HYVs, of seeds. HYV seeds promise to produce much greater amounts of grain on a single plant. As a result, the same piece of land would now produce far larger quantities of food grains than was possible earlier. However, HYV seeds needed plenty of water and also chemical fertilizers and pesticides to produce best results. Higher yields were possible only from a combination of HYV seeds, irrigation, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, etc. The whole system can be termed as modern farming system. What is the working capital required by the farmer using modern farming methods? HYV seeds, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, etc. are some working capital required in modern farming methods. Farmers of Punjab, Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh were the first to try out the modern farming method in India. The farmers in these regions set up tube wells for irrigation and made use of HYV seeds, chemical fertilizers and pesticides in farming. Some of the farmers bought farm machinery like tractors and threshers, which made plowing and harvesting faster. Thus, modern farming system requires more inputs which are manufactured in industry. Have a look at the production of pulses and wheat for the last few decades to know the impact of Green Revolution. Though there is an increase in production, there has been a continuous pressure on land. What do you think would be the impact of using chemical fertilizers and pesticides on the environment? The constant use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides has a devastating effect on environment. These chemicals escape from soil and enter groundwater, thus polluting sources of water like river, sea, etc. This kills many aquatic animals and plants. When humans consume water polluted with chemicals, they also become more prone to various diseases like cancer. With the increased use of water, the water level keeps going down, which leads to water scarcity. Natural organisms which make the soil fertile are killed by these chemicals, leading to infertile soil. What do you think is the impact of Green Revolution on the farmers? In the initial years, the use of high-yielding seeds and fertilizers led to a bumper crop and the farmers earned a lot of money, but slowly the long-term impact has started showing results. The land has become infertile and water levels have gone down. This has led to farmers putting in more fertilizers and investing more in irrigation facilities, thus increasing the cost of cultivation. Natural resources like soil fertility and groundwater are built up over many years, so they must be taken care to ensure future development of agriculture. Deen Dayal, a large farmer in the village of Palampur, he has 11 hectares of land which is intensively cultivated using modern farming methods. There are 10 other families in Palampur like Deen Dayal who cultivate more than 10 hectares of land. This is Sham, a medium farmer who cultivates his 4 hectares of land using modern farming method. There are another 50 families like Sham who cultivate more than 2 hectares of land. This is Govind, who has 1.5 hectares of unirrigated land and has to work hard with his 2 sons to earn his livelihood. There are another 350 families like Govind in the village. Ramu and Rukmi are farm laborers. They have been working for Deen Dayal for the last 10 years. There are another 50 families like Ramu and Rukmi in the village. In these examples, how is the land distributed in the village? It is clear from the examples that not all the people in the village are engaged in agriculture or have sufficient land for cultivation. Have a look at the pie chart to know the overall pattern in our country. About 80% of the farmers in our country are small farmers who just own about 36% of the total cultivated land. On the other hand, the medium and large farmers that comprise 20% of the total farmers own 64% of the cultivated land. Now, look at Govind's family. He has 1.5 hectares of land which is divided between his 2 sons, with each son getting just 0.75 hectares each. Do you think they are able to earn their livelihood cultivating such small piece of land? Govind's sons are not able to make a living from their land. They started working in the brick making factory in the nearby village. Now, let us look at Deen Dayal. He purchased a thresher and a harvester last month. He is able to complete his work in less time with less labor. Do you think Ramu and Rukmi will find work in Deen Dayal's farm now? No, Ramu and Rukmi will not get sufficient work in farm now. They have to start work as daily wage laborers and must regularly look for work. However, working as farm laborers too is not profitable. Farm laborers do not have a right over the crops grown on the land. They are paid wages by the farmer for whom they work. Wages can be in cash or in kind. Example, crop. Though the minimum wages for a farm laborer set by the government is ₹60 per day, wages vary widely from region to region, from crop to crop, from one farm activity to another. There is heavy competition for work among the farm laborers as they are large in numbers. This is the reason why the wages for farm laborers in Indian villages is less than minimum wages. Thus, farm laborers are among the poorest people in a village who come from landless families or families cultivating small plots of land. Now, let us look at the sources of capital for the farmers. Govind's son, Hamtu, does not have enough capital for buying seeds, pesticides and farm instruments to cultivate his 0.75 hectares of land. How do you think Hamtu gets the capital? Hamtu has to borrow ₹3,000 from the large farmer, Deen Dayal, who agrees for the loan at an interest of 20% for 4 months. In return, Hamtu also promises to work in Deen Dayal's farm for removing weeds and applying pesticide at Rs 35 per day. Why do you think Hamtu agrees to work for such low wages? As getting a loan is difficult for a small farmer, Hamtu is left with no option. In contrast to the small farmers, the medium and large farmers have many options. They even get bank loans to purchase capital-intensive agricultural implements such as tractors, combine harvesters, etc., as they are able to provide necessary documents required for loans. Moreover, the medium and large farmers have their own savings from farming. How do you think they have their own savings? Suppose a farmer with a large piece of land produces wheat in his farm. He retains a part of the wheat for the family's consumption and sells the surplus wheat in the market. Small farmers like Govind and his sons have little or no surplus. But farmers like Deen Dayal and Shyam have enough surpluses. Thus, it is the medium and large farmers who supply wheat to the market. A part of the earnings is saved and kept for buying capital for the next season. Some large farmers even offer loan to the small farmers, as we saw in the case of Hamtu. Some farmers might also use the savings to buy cattle, trucks, or to set up shops, which gives rise to other non-farming activities. Can you name some non-farm production activities in villages? Dairy farming, opening small shops, establishing small-scale manufacturing, and providing transport facilities for farming and manufacturing goods are some of the non-farm activities in villages. Dairy farming is a common activity in many families in rural India. People feed their buffaloes on various kinds of grass and the jowar and bajra they grow during the rainy season. Milk is sold to nearby villages. Presently, people engaged in various manufacturing activities have been increasing in recent years. Can you think of some manufacturing activities carried out in rural areas? Small food processing units, rice and wheat mills, weaving, jaggery making, etc. are done on a small scale. They are carried out mostly at home or in the fields with the help of family labor, with few exceptions of hired labor. Some people in rural India are traders or shopkeepers who buy various goods from wholesale markets in the cities and sell them in the villages. Have you seen a village store? What type of items they sell in such stores? Small general stores in village sell various items such as rice, wheat, sugar, tea, oil, biscuits, soap, toothpaste, batteries, candles, notebooks, pens, pencils, etc. Another sector that may help rural poor is transport. There are a variety of vehicles on the roads connecting village to village and village to urban areas. What types of transportation we find in rural areas? Rickshawalas, tongawalas, jeeps, tractors, truck drivers, and people driving the traditional bullock carts and bogies are people in transport services. Now, look at another situation. Recall the farm laborer Ramu and Rukmi. Suppose both get cheap loans under a government scheme. They purchase 2 buffaloes with the money. Now, they earn by selling buffalo's milk. With the little surplus amount they earn, Ramu made a wooden cart driven by the buffaloes. Now, they use the cart to transport various items such as clay for potters, sugarcane for the jaggery making unit, and jaggery to the market in the small town nearby. Now, Ramu and Rukmi are able to earn more than what they used to some years ago. What do you think are the major factors involved in their economic development? Cheap loan and development of good roads, connection with urban areas helped in improving the economic condition of Ramu and Rukmi. As more villages get connected to towns and cities through good roads, transport and telephone, it is possible that the opportunities for non-farming activities in the villages would increase in our country.